Hello and welcome back to the unit tutorial for Science Year 2, Unit 1, Uses of Materials, and this is video part 2 of 2. My name is Megan Latchford and I'm a Design Leader at Curriculum Plus for Primary Science, History and Geography. This video will walk you through the following areas: how to adapt activities and lessons, and how to prepare to teach the unit. A great resource to use to adapt pupil activities in this unit is the online ebook workbook. I'm going to give you a demonstration of how to use the ebook to adapt activities, and here I'll be using a Year 3 science workbook, but this video applies to all year groups and subjects. To access the ebook workbook for this unit, you'll need to log into Oxford OWL, select the year group and subject you want, in this case Science Year 3, in your case Science Year 2. And the first resource on the list is the ebook, and for this unit you'll need workbook 2A. This is an online exact copy of the pupil workbook. Use the arrows to scroll through the pages and you can find both autumn term units in this workbook. Select the activity you want to adapt by using the snipping tool and highlighting that section. You may be familiar with the snipping tool, but it can be found by searching in the search bar or simultaneously pressing Windows, Shift and S. Drag your mouse to highlight the area you want to copy, and that section of your screen will be copied onto your clipboard. And now you can press Paste, and that section will be pasted onto the document you want. Sometimes you may find that Word works best, and sometimes perhaps Publisher. I like to use Word for the draw tool if I want to highlight anything or write in handwriting, and Publisher is quite good for moving around text boxes and shapes. Now you can adapt the activity in any way you want. Here you can see I'm actually adding an extra label, but adapt the activity to the needs of your class. Then you can print this out and stick it on top of the activity in the pupil workbook. Every lesson starts with a knowledge quiz except for lesson 1, and you can find them in a knowledge quiz booklet on Oxford OWL with this unit's resources. Knowledge quizzes can be implemented in a variety of ways which entirely depend on what works best for your class. They are an important step to check for understanding and address any misconceptions, so try not to miss them out. We have found from teacher feedback that most teachers teach these quizzes with pupils sat at desks independently answering the questions, and this is great if this works for your pupils, and keep doing if so. But there are other methods if you feel this isn't the best way for your class. You could read the questions and options as a whole class and go through each question and answer one by one, breaking it down into bite-sized chunks. For Key Stage 1, you may be using carpet time in the classroom, so you could start the year with pupils answering the questions as a class by showing a number on their hands. For example, 1, 2, and 3. To keep track of answers this way, you could keep a record of the general consensus the class has come to, or even make a note in the workbook you've kept aside as a teacher copy. As the year progresses, you may wish to make these knowledge quizzes more independent. The aim of the knowledge quiz is to assess the new learning from the previous lesson, and you can adapt this to any method which best suits your class. I'm now going to go through some of the activities in each of the lessons in the pupil workbook and how to adapt them. We don't have time to go through every single activity, so the ideas and suggestions I present here can also be used, if fitting, in the activities we don't unpick. In Lesson 1, pupils need to go for a walk around the school and spot objects made from each of the materials. They then complete the table listing which objects they find. You can support pupils this way by creating picture cards of items you may find in schools that fit different categories. You may wish to make it a little bit harder by creating labels instead of items you may find in school that fit the different categories. You may wish to remove the amount of categories people have in the table to give more time for pupils to be successful. You can stretch pupils by asking them a challenge question such as, which material did you find the most of? In Lesson 2, pupils need to group the objects they have found according to the material they are made from. You can support pupils by adding an image next to each material name to support the reading. You could create picture cards or labels of the items pupils have found so they can stick them in. And you can add example inside each circle before pupils begin. You could stretch pupils by asking them a challenge question, such as, can you draw, list, or discuss any more items they can think of that can be added to each category? In Lesson 3, pupils complete an investigation where they test different materials to find out which is the most absorbent. Support pupils by adding material names to the table. You could create labels of the materials for pupils to stick into the answer spaces for questions 1 and 2. And to stretch pupils, you can challenge them by asking them which object was least suitable for mopping up water and why. In Lesson 4, pupils investigate different objects by answering the questions to see if they can squash them, bend them, twist them, or stretch them. You can support pupils by adding images to support comprehension of squash, bend, twist, and stretch. You could partially complete the table as a model to allow pupils more time to be successful. And you could add an example onto the table as a model itself. Stretch pupils with a challenge and ask pupils to use the keywords to select one item from each side of the table and answer how they know they're flexible or rigid. In Lesson 5, pupils need to sort the different types of litter into the different recycling bins. You can support pupils by adding pictorial support for each bin, adding an example in each bin, or reducing the amount of litter pupils need to sort through. Stretch pupils with a challenge by asking pupils to add more items they can think of to the bins or write a sentence about why recycling is important. In Lesson 6, pupils learn about 3 scientists and need to sort through the problem and solution cards for each scientist. Support pupils by creating these boxes into cut-out boxes that pupils can sort and stick through instead of write. You could also highlight the key information within the boxes, or take it one step further and colour code the highlighted information to the scientist. Stretch pupils the challenge by asking which invention they think was most important and why. Every lesson finishes with 2 exit questions, and these are done as a whole class on the PowerPoint slides and not in workbooks. Support pupils by adding symbols for 1, 2, and 3, just like in the knowledge quizzes. For every unit, there are elements that will need to be planned in advance by the class teacher. You could plan an engaging hook to get pupils excited for the unit to come. This could be doing a piece of art or watching interesting videos. You may need to print off any additional resources per lesson. Not every single lesson will have an additional resource, so make sure you check before you teach. And you may need to gather resources for specific lessons and do this by carefully reading through the unit planning guidance. You now feel super confident about accessing and teaching this unit, and don't forget to read through all the resources before you do so. Any questions, please send to primarymastery@curriculumplus.org.uk, and we welcome feedback to ensure that these resources are as supportive as possible. Thank you.